Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala amma ba'du. Assalamu alaikum once again. Welcome back to the second session of this class on Salah. We did Istiqbal al-Qibla facing the Kaaba, and by now we must have known why we face Kaaba and other related issues. Now we are going to the second issue, Qiyam. Why do we pray while standing? Why not sitting down? When you go to the masjid and you meet people, everyone is standing. Why you not sitting down and pray? Do you do it just because you saw people doing it? It's just a blind follow? Today we are going to move from blind follow to being student of knowledge, doing things by reason. Now we face Kaaba and all other related issues by reason, and we're going to also do the same with Qiyam. Qiyam is standing. As I said in the previous class, that we need someone that can read faster so we save time. Who volunteered to read? Who can volunteer to read for us? Qiyam. And in this Qiyam, standing, we are going to know 3 issues. And 3 plus 7, tilka asharatun kamila. Now we start with standing. 3 issues. Who can read for us? Sisters can read if they wish. Sisters can read if they wish. If they wish. So if sisters can read, we're going to find 3 groups after this one, like 3 sisters to read it, the way we had like more than 4 brothers. Yeah, go ahead. وأما في السفر Al-Qiyam, standing. Why do we stand in prayer? What are the reasons? He said, وَكَانَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ يَقِفُ فِيهَا قَائِمًا. The Prophet ﷺ used to stand up in the prayer. So this is it. When someone asks you, why are you praying while standing? In our places of worship, we have chairs. Everyone sit down, but you people, you just like stand up and pray. He said, because the Prophet ﷺ says, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni. I want all of you to memorize this hadith. Sallu kama ra'aytumuni. Pray as you do me, as you saw me praying. And he used to stand up in prayer. Fil fardhi, when he's praying the obligatory, wa tatawwu, and when he's praying nafl, when he's praying voluntary prayer. I'timaran bi qawlihi ta'ala. He was following the command of Allah. He was following the statement of Allah, wa qumu lillahi qanitin, and stand for Allah in devotion. So standing in prayer is following the command. There are 2 reasons for that. First, we saw the Prophet ﷺ standing. It is reported. Where? You just point the book. Where is he? In this book. It is reported. It is hadith. It's not a statement of any scholar that the Prophet ﷺ used to stand up and praying, and also he was following the command of Allah. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ. Allah says, "Qumu, stand up for Allah," but not to clap for Allah. Some people in their place of worship, they clap for Allah. We don't clap for Allah, but we stand up for Allah. Not because Allah is coming in the room. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Stand up for Allah in devotion when you are praying. Amma fi safar, one on a journey, فَكَانَ يُسَلِّي عَلَى رَاحِلَتِهِ النَّافِلَةِ. He used to pray the voluntary prayer on his beast. We did this in the previous class, right? Are you with me? I need your attention, please. We finished with this. So we have 3 issues on standing. The first is that we stand in prayer because the Prophet ﷺ used to do it, and that's enough reason. The second reason is because Allah says, وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Baqarah 144. So when you are reciting this verse, you know what it means. It means that we shall pray while standing up. The second issue, وَسَنَّ لِأُمَّتِهِ أَنْ يُسَلُّوا فِي الْخَوْفِ الشَّدِيدِ عَلَىٰ أَقْدَامِهِمْ. And he set an example for his ummah to pray in a severe fear in battle. So we did this. It's just a repetition. Ala aqdamihim, on their foot. Aw rukbanan, or while mounted. Kama taqaddama, as it was explained before. We did this before. That's why he said kama taqaddama. But we did it before while facing the Kaaba. Now the same hadith, what the Prophet ﷺ was standing. He said you can pray in the severe fear while standing on your feet or on your foot or while mounted. وَذَلِكَ قَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى, and this is because of the statement of Allah. Allah says, حَافِظُوا عَلَى الصَّلَوَاتِ وَالصَّلَاةِ الْوُسْطَى, guide strictly to all the salawat, all prayers, do it on time. وَالصَّلَاةِ الْوُسْطَى, and the middle salah. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, and stay for Allah, stand for Allah in devotion. وَإِنْ خِبْتُمْ, but if you fear, sorry? فَإِنْ خِبْتُمْ, and if you are in fear, in battle when you are fighting wars, فَرِجَالًا, pray on your foot, أَوْ رُكْبَانًا, or while mounted. It's all the same. We mentioned this, we did it before, right? Allah says, فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ, and when you are in security, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا أَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ, mention Allah, remember Allah as He taught you what you didn't know. So this verse shows us that we have to strictly guide to praying on time. However, when in war, we can pray while on our foot or while mounted. But in security, when we have security, we have to remember Allah and mention Allah the way He taught us. This is the second issue. It's almost like bit repetition. So I will not explain more about this. It's very clear. Number 3, who can read for us? Yeah.
وصلى كذلك مرة أخرى قبل هذه حين اشتكى وصلى الناس وراءه قياما فأشار إليهم أن يجلسوا.
وأشار إليهم أن يجلسوا. طيب. Go ahead.
فلما انصرف قال إن جئتم آنفا لتفعلون فعل فارس والروم يقومون على رؤوسهم وهم قعود فلا تفعلوا إنما جعل الإمام ليتم به فإذا ركع فاركعوا وإذا رفع فارفعوا وإذا صلى جالسا فصلوا جلوسا.
This is very important paragraph, so I will stand up to translate it so that you will understand. There are many things we can deduce from it, not only about prayer. That's why. وَصَلَّى صَلَى اللَّهُ فِي مَرَضِ مَوْتِهِ جَالِسًا. Now we are talking about praying while standing. But you can pray. We said, you see in the first topic, we said in the first chapter, we said we have to face Kaaba. Then we said there are exceptions. You can just like when you are praying. When is the exception? Who can tell me when is the exception? That you can pray without facing Kaaba? We did it. When in a journey and you are praying Zuhur, right? Yes? No, you are praying what? You are praying like Sunnah prayer, right? So now we said we have to pray standing because Allah says, وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, and the Prophet ﷺ used to pray while standing, but there is an exception that you can also pray while sitting down. What is the exception? Anything? Okay. What is the exception? He said, وَصَلَّى صَلَّى وسلم. This is the exception. وَصَلَّى صَلَّى وسلم فِي مَرَضِ مَوْتِهِ جَالِسًا. The Prophet ﷺ prayed while sitting down in the illness of his death. When he was about to die, when he was in that illness, he prayed while sitting down. So today, if you are ill, you can't pray while standing up. You can do it while sitting down. If someone asks you, he said, why? But everyone is standing while standing while praying. You said because the Prophet ﷺ did it. He prayed while sitting down in the illness of his death. He said, وَصَلَّاهَا كَذَلِكَ مَرَةً أُخْرَى. Be attentive to this. وَصَلَّاهَا كَذَلِكَ. He also did the same, مَرَةً أُخْرَى, in another occasion. Before that, حِينَ اشْتَكَ قَبْلَ هَذِهِ, before the illness of his death. حِينَ اشْتَكَى, when he was injured. When he was injured, he went to battle and he got injured. When he come back, he couldn't stand up. So he prayed while sitting down. And what happened? The Prophet ﷺ was Imam, right? He was the Imam leading, but now he couldn't stand up to pray. What happened? وَصَلَّى النَّاسُ وَرَاءَهُ قِيَامًا. Then people stood up and prayed while standing because they are not sick. Do you understand? They are what? So they stood before him. They stood lines behind him and they prayed while standing. But what happened? Look at it here. He said, فَلَمَّنْ وَرَأَنَّهُ قِيَامًا فَأَشَارَ إِلَيْهِمْ أَنِ اجْلِسُوا. Then the Prophet ﷺ pointed to them, sit down as well. I know you are okay, you are not sick, but sit down and pray with me while we are sitting down. فَلَمَّنْ صَرَفَ. When he finished the prayer, is that? فَجَلَسُوا. Then they sat down, all of them. Now in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, everyone was sitting down. Everyone was praying while sitting down. فَلَمَّنْ صَرَفَ When he finished, he turned to them, he said, إِن كِتُّمْ آنِفًا لِتَفْعَلُونَ فِعْلَ فَارِسَ وَالرُّومِ You are about to do as Persians and Romans do. You are about, I was sitting down, you stood up behind me, and you are praying. That was wrong. You are about to do what the Persians and Romans do. What do? يَقُومُونَ عَلَى مُلُوكِهِمْ وَهُمْ قُعُودًا They used to stand up behind their kings while the kings are sitting down. فَلَا تَفْعَلُوا Don't do that. It is very wrong to come and honor someone just because he is the president and someone will stand behind him. This is what most and agaji do is wrong. You don't stand before someone just to respect him. This is what is done for the leaders. This is wrong in Islam, except if it is for security reason. Someone stood before the Prophet ﷺ in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah because he was signing treaty with the non-Muslims and there was fear that something could happen to him. So someone stood behind him for security purpose. But if it's not for security purpose, that's to show that this is sheikh, this is big, this is king, this is my father. He's sitting down and you stand up before him and you just like out of respect. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا تَفْعَلُوا Don't do this. Some scholars deduce from this even greeting. When you are greeting your father, you meet your father standing, the sunnah is to greet him while standing. Because you cannot go down while he's standing. And if you meet him down, you have to go down as well to greet him. You cannot one standing, one sitting. The Prophet says, فَلَا تَفْعَلُوا But this is a bit difficult to apply sometimes, right? Some parents are really strict, so go by your parents. But I will go by hadith. So you choose which one is preferable. So this is very important. He said, إِنَّمَا جُئِلَ الْإِمَامُ لِيُؤْتَمَّ بِهِ Imam was made imam for you to copy him. Imam, why did you stand before me while I was sitting? إِنَّمَا جُئِلَ الْإِمَامُ Imam was just put there as imam so that you can emulate him. فَإِذَا رَكَعَ فَارْكَعُوا When imam goes to ruku, also go with him. وَإِذَا رَفَعَ فَارْفَعُوا When he raises his head, also raise yours. وَإِذَا صَلَّى جَالِسًا When he prays while sitting down, فَصَلُّوا جُلُوسًا أَجْمَعُونَ All of you shall pray while sitting down. So if imam is sick and he couldn't pray while standing, he sit down, then all of you shall sit down and pray. This is another ruling. Maybe new to all of you, to many of you maybe, they are hearing for the first time. So when an imam is injured and he insists that he's going to pray, because here in Nigeria we are very humble. People can say, Faddal, go and pray. But if you go to Middle East, from my experience is that imam wants to be there. On some occasion, imam came late, and after Iqamah, someone was there, he asked people to do Iqamah, then imam came, and he said, please go back. And he prayed. So, and it's right, it's accepted, you can do that. You know what, let me tell you something strange that you might argue, maybe, how can that be done? If you are a regular imam, in Islam we are asked to respect imam. Imam has to be there. If imam is late 5 minutes, please wait for him. Give him another 5 minutes. The Prophet ﷺ used to pray Isha late. Mu'adh prayed with him, and he will go to his people, they will wait for him, and he will go and pray Isha for them. So if someone starts the prayer, after he said Allahu Akbar, then imam comes, he can ask him to go back, and imam will take the lead. Why? Ibn Hajar said this in Fatahul Bari. Because when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was leading, when the Prophet ﷺ came, Abu Bakr radiallahu went back and the Prophet ﷺ took over. They have already started the prayer by that time. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went back and the Prophet ﷺ took the lead. So no problem, you can come and take the lead, but this is so strange actually. It's not being humble. Because the Prophet ﷺ asked Abu Bakr to continue, but he said no. It's not befitting for me to pray before the Prophet ﷺ. But that's completely different issue. But what is here in the book, إِنَّمَا جُئِلَ الْإِمَامُ لِيُؤْتَمَّ بِهِ Imam was made imam for you to copy him, for you to do as he did. فَإِذَا رَكَعَ فَارْكَعُوا When imam goes to ruku, go with him. وَإِذَا رَفَعَ فَارْفَعُوا When he raises his head, also raise yours. وَإِذَا صَلَّى جَالِسًا فَصَلُّوا جُلُوسًا أَجْمَعُونَ When you are imam, pray sitting down, all of you shall sit down and pray. So now in this qiyam, we understand three issues. The first is that we pray standing because of two reasons. The first is Allah says, وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. When we recite this verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, we know it is referring to prayers. So stand up for Allah in devotion. The second is that the Prophet used to stand up. So we will copy him. And the second issue is that while in severe war, when in severe fare, when in war, we can pray on our foot or while mounted. There is no problem. The third and last one is that when Imam prays while sitting down, when he's ill, when you are ill, you can pray. If you are praying alone, you can pray while sitting down. If you are Imam, all the people following you will also have to do what? To pray while sitting down. Done with this. The next chapter. Salatul Maridi Jalisan. Now there's a chapter, a specific chapter for praying while, if you are sick, the sick person will pray while sitting down. But is it equal in ajr, the reward, to the person who prays while standing? No. The chapter will tell us. Listen, the prayer of a sick person while sitting down. If you are sick, can you just sit down just because you have fever? You just feel like you don't want to stand, you can sit down? Or it has to be severe illness. وقال إمران بن حسين رضي الله عنه, one of the companions by name Imran bin Hussein, may Allah be pleased with him, said, كانت بي بواسير, I have piles, I was sick, I have piles. فسألت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, then I asked the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, how can I pray? Because standing up, I find it difficult to stand. فقال, he said, صلِّ قائما, you have to pray while standing. فإن لم تستطع, but if you can't, if you are not able to stand, فقائدا, then pray while sitting down. So it's okay. It is clear. If you can't stand, if you can't stand, pray while sitting down. فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ, if you can't even sit down, the sickness is so severe. فَعَلَى جَنْبٍ, then on your side, then you can just lie down and pray while lying down. This is the importance of Salah. Part of the objectives of this is to point out the importance of Salah, and the importance of Salah is in all chapters we study. If you can't, even in severe fare, doing battles and war, you have to pray. Now, if you cannot pray while standing down, pray while sitting down. If you can't even sit down, you are so sick that you can't sit down, you have to pray lying down. At all circumstances, at all situations, you will have to pray. طيب. وقال أيضا, Imran also said, سألته عن صلاة الرجل وهو قائد. I asked the Prophet ﷺ about a person praying while sitting down. فقال, he said, من صلى قائما فهو أفضل. Whoever prays while standing is better. So if you are sick, but you can afford to stand with difficulty, you can afford to stand, but it's difficult for you to stand, it's better you stand. But it's difficult, yeah. That's why you fast. Fasting is difficult, but going to Hajj is difficult. But you want to also earn reward. People do all kind of jobs to get money. It is difficult for them, but they can bear to do it. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I asked the Prophet ﷺ about praying while sitting down. He said, Man salla qa'iman fahuwa afdal. Whoever prays while standing is better. Wa man salla qa'idan. Whoever prays while sitting down, but he can afford to stand with difficulty, فَلَهُ نِصْفُ أَجْرِ الْقَائِمِ, he has half the reward of the person who pray while standing. If you can't stand to pray, you are sick, but it's really difficult for you, but you can, then you have option. You can sit down, but your prayer is worth half the reward of the person who pray while standing. Do you understand it? Now you can stand, but it's really difficult for you. Because of one reason or the other, because you are sick, it's difficult for you. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, if you pray standing, it's better. However, if you decide to pray while sitting, it's more comfortable for you, then you can do that. But your salah is worth half the reward of the person who prays while sitting down. He said, وَمَنْ صَلَّى نَائِمًا وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ مُضْطَجِعًا. Whoever prays while lying down, he can afford to sit down, but with difficulty. He's so sick that even sitting down is difficult for him, but he can do that. فَلَهُ نِصْفُ أَجْرِ الْقَائِدِ. He will have half the reward of the person who prays while sitting down. وَالْمُرَادُ بِهِ الْمَرِيض. This applies to sick person. You can't say just I have options, so I know if I pray while sitting down, it's worth half. No. وَالْمُرَادُ بِهِ الْمَرِيض. This applies only to a sick person. You are sick, That is why you can't stand up, or you can stand up, but it's difficult for you. But you just decide that I just want to do it very easy. I just want to take the simple way. Let me just sit down and do. Now your salah is half reward of the person who prays while standing. If you can sit down, but you said I'm so sick that I just want to just pray while lying, then it's acceptable. But you have half reward of the person who prays while sitting down. فقد قال أنس رضي الله. He said, well, Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, خرج رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على ناس وهم يصلون قعودا من مرض. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out to people while they were sitting down praying because they were sick. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to his masjid. He found people praying, sitting down, but they were sick. Then he said, then he said, Inna salatal qaidi ala nisfi min salatil qaim. The prayer of a sitting down person worth half reward of the standing person. So if you pray while sitting down, I know you are sick, but from all indication, this your sickness, you can manage to stand up. But you decided to sit down. The Prophet ﷺ said to them, your prayer is worth half the reward of the person who prayed while sitting down. Now by this, you know many things you shall know about standing up. You know when the sick person sits down. When you meet someone sitting down and is praying, you went to visit him, and he said, oh, you know, I can't stand, that is why I'm sick, that is why I'm praying while sitting down. Then you asked him, you said, but can you stand? He said, it's difficult for me. He said, but it's better you do it. Because the Prophet ﷺ was asked this, and he said, yeah, it's better you pray while standing. But however, your salah is valid, just you have half the reward, assuming you stood up and pray. Is that understood? Okay, now the last point about Salatul Marid. I cannot stand, but I can lie on something. Is it acceptable to lie on something? In Maliki school of jurisprudence, it is accepted. But in Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ forbade it. So you better always go by the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Now this is what happened. Listen. وَآدَ مَرِيدًا فَرَآهُ يُسَلِّي عَلَى وِسَادَةٍ. The Prophet ﷺ visited a sick person, and he met him lying on a pillow. And while praying, he's holding a pillow to lie on it and pray. فَأَخَذَهَا فَرَمَى بِهَا. The Prophet ﷺ took the pillow and he threw it. فَأَخَذَ أُودًا. Then the sick person hold a stick. Okay, because the Prophet took the pillow from me, maybe it's not allowed to hold a pillow. Maybe a stick. Then he hold a stick to pray. لِيُسَلِّي عَلَيْهِ. He want to land on it and pray. فَأَخَذَهُ فَرَمَى بِهِ. The Prophet ﷺ took the stick and he threw it away. فَقَالَ. Then he said, you cannot stand, you cannot sit, but you can't hold something to pray. وَجْعَلْ سُجُودَكَ أَخْفَضَ مِنْ رُكُوعِكَ. Make your sujood to go lower than your ruku. Just the way we did a person who is on a journey and he's praying sunnah. So the same thing, when you are sick, you can't lie on something. You say, oh, let me lie on this wall because I cannot stand. Let me lie on a wall. Let me hold a stick. It will support me. Let me have a support. No, you can't. Just pray while standing if you can. If you're not sitting, if not lying, but don't hold anything. So now this is the last issue about praying while standing for a sick person is allowed. Now we had that we read 3 issues. The first one is that we must pray while standing. Because Allah says, وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ. Stand for Allah in devotion. Number 2, if you are sick, you can sit down. However, if you can afford to stand up and pray and you sit down, then you have half reward. And also, you cannot learn on something to pray. You have to pray the way you can without learning on anything. Is this understood? Then we go to the next chapter, As-Salatu fi Safina. Who can read for us? We want to go as fast as we can. And inshallah, hoping that you are understanding. Stop me at any point when you think you need more explanation on that very particular thing. In a ship. Because, you know, it wasn't suitable at that time. Now if you have a big ship, like you don't even realize that you are in a sea. Just it's stable now with the technology. But with the smaller ones, then it is difficult. وَسُئِلَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَنِ الصَّلَاةِ فِي السَّفِينَةِ. The Prophet ﷺ was asked about praying in a ship. فَقَالَ. He said, صَلِّ فِيهَا قَائِمًا. Pray in it while standing. You see, in all the ahadith, the Prophet ﷺ is emphasizing the importance of praying while standing. A sick person, how can I pray? Pray while standing. Unless if you can, then sit down. وَسُئِلَ عَنِ الصَّلَاةِ فِي السَّفِينَةِ. He was asked about praying in a ship. فقال, he said, صل فيها قائما. Pray in it while standing. إلا أن تخاف الغرق. Except if you fear to drown. If you fear drowning, then you can sit down. You can sit down and pray. ولما أسن صلى الله عليه وسلم, when the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم grew old, وكبر, and he became old, اتخذ عمودا في مصلاه. He took a support in his place of prayer, يعتمد عليه, that he learned on. So now, before we just said that a sick person cannot learn on something to pray, and now we are saying that the Prophet ﷺ, when he grew up and he became old, he had a support. So now, when someone grew old, he can have a support, he can learn on a support. But when you are sick, you cannot. Do you have the difference between the two? So it's not all the time that it's forbidden for anyone to learn on something to pray. Only if you are sick. You know you are sick and you're going to be well, you are youth, you are powerful, but now just 2-3 days you are sick, you cannot stand, sit down and pray. I can learn on something. No, don't. But now he's 60, he's 70. You can't say that he's going to get cured anytime. There is no cure for that. So how can I pray? I can't stand down, but if I learn on something, I can. We say learn on something. So why differentiating? Because I have 2 hadiths on that. These are the hadiths we read. The first hadith, the Prophet ﷺ met someone learning on something. He said, don't learn on anything. He threw the pillow, he threw the stick. But when he grew old, he learned on something to pray. He took a support. So now this has been a student of knowledge. This has been a scholar. You can differentiate between the two. You can, if someone asks you, what is the Islamic position on someone learning on something to pray? You can say yes or no. He said it depends. There are different hadiths on that. The first hadith, if the person is sick, he can't learn on anything because the Prophet ﷺ went to visit a sick person and he met him leaning on a pillow. The Prophet ﷺ took the pillow and he threw it. And he took a stick and the Prophet ﷺ did the same. But when he grew old, the Prophet ﷺ learned on a support to pray. So if you are an old person, you can't pray while standing or while sitting. You can have a support to do that. But if you are just sick, you cannot. Now you are a scholar. Now you are a student of knowledge. Now you know how to differentiate between issues. Okay. 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 Now al-qiyam wal-qu'ud, standing and sitting in the night prayers. Now we were talking about obligatory prayer. When in obligatory prayers, you have to stand if you can. You cannot learn on anything. If you can't stand, sit down. But you can only sit down if you cannot stand or if you can stand with difficulty. Now Salatul Layl, in the night you want to pray. Now you have options. In the night, if you want to pray, you have options. The first is وَكَانَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ يُصَلِّي لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا قَائِمًا. The Prophet ﷺ used to pray through long night while standing. He will stand and pray. وَلَيْلًا طَوِيلًا قَائِدًا. And sometimes he will pray through long night but while sitting down. So if you want to pray in the night, then you have option. If you wish, you can stand up, even if you are well. If you can afford to sit down, no problem. To stand up, you can pray while sitting down. He said, وَكَانَ إِذَا قَرَأَ قَائِمًا رَكَعَ قَائِمًا. When he prays while standing, he will go to ruku from standing. So he finishes surah, he will go to ruku, normal going to ruku. وَإِذَا صَلَّى قَائِدًا. When he prays while sitting down, he will go to ruku while sitting down. So when he prays, when he recites in the night, he recites many verses and he was standing. When ruku comes, he will go to ruku while sitting down. Do you understand this? We have 3 issues to it from this. Do you understand this? So in Salatul Layl, night prayers, you have option. If you want, you can pray while standing, and if you wish, you can pray while sitting down. Though the Prophet ﷺ prayed at the end of his life while sitting down, but scholars said it's accepted. Even today, if you want to do that, you can pray in the night while sitting down, and you can pray while standing up. This is the first mas'ala. So now, we said in the first paragraph, we said the first issue is that in Salatul Layl, in night prayers, you can, if you wish, you can pray while standing, and if you wish, you can pray while sitting. We have 2 situations. Now this third situation, you can mix the 2. To pray in the night while sitting and standing, you mix the 2. In one raka'ah, part of it you are standing, but I'm tired of standing. Let me just sit down and continue the prayer. Like in Salatul Layl, now when you go to like Tahajjud, where Imam recites 4 pages, and maybe you can't stand for that, like 20 minutes standing, and you just get tired in Ramadan. You can just decide that, let me just sit down. If someone asks you why, then you recite a reason. You have a reason for that. This is not something I'm doing from anyhow. This is something that I have a reason for that. What is the reason? Here is it. وَكَانَ أَحْيَانًا. And the Prophet ﷺ occasionally used to yusalli jalisan. He used to pray while sitting down. فَيَقْرَأُ وَهُوَ جَالِسٌ. He will recite Quran. He's reciting surah while he was sitting. فَإِذَا بَقِيَ مِنْ قِرَاءَتِهِ قَدْرَ مَا يَكُونُ 30 أو 40 آية. When it remains 30 or 40 verses to his ruku. Maybe he's reciting 100 verses. In one rak'ah he recited Baqarah and Nisa'i, Ali Imran. Put together about 500 verses or more. So maybe when he's reciting, let's say 100 verses in one rak'ah, and he will sit down and pray. And when he gets to 60th verse, remain 40 verses, or 70th, remain 30, he will stand up and recite it, and then go to ruku. He said, فَإِذَا بَقِيَ مِنْ قِرَاءَتِهِ قَدْرَ مَا يَكُونُ 30 أو 40 آية. If it remains 30 or 40 verses, قَامَ فَقَرَأَهَا. Then he stood up and recited, وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ, while standing. So he will start the prayer while sitting down. When he's about to go to ruku, only 30 verses, only 40 verses. If all your salah is 40 verses, so when you get to only remain 5 verses or 6 verses, then you stand up and recite them while standing. ثُمَّ رَكَعَ وَسَجَدَ. Then he will go to ruku and sujood from standing. ثُمَّ يَسْنَعُ فِي الرَّكَعَةِ الثَّانِيَةِ مِثْلَ ذَلِكَ. Then in the second rak'ah, he will also do that. So in the first rak'ah, he start praying while sitting down. When it remains 30 verses to ruku, he will stand up. He will stand up and recite the 30 verses and go to ruku, normal ruku from standing. After ruku, he will go to sujood. After the second sujood, instead of him to stand up, he will sit down and start reciting. When it remains 30 verses or 40 verses, he will stand up and recite them and do the same thing the way he did in the first rak'ah. Is this understood? Then he said, وَإِنَّمَا صَلَّى الصُّبْحَةَ قَائِدًا. The Prophet ﷺ only prayed voluntary prayer sitting down في آخر حياته, at the end of his life, لما أسنى, when he grew up. وذلك قبل وفاته بِعَامٍ. Before he died with only 1 year. That's when he used to do it. Just for your knowledge to know that the Prophet ﷺ did it at this particular time. But it is accepted, as scholars said, to do it that way. Wakane, this is your answer, the answer to your question. He is asking, how do I sit down to pray? Wakana yajlisu mutarabbi'an. He used to sit with cross-legged, with his leg crossed. How do we do that? I have to demonstrate, and it has to be here, Mr. President. Yeah, I want to sit down and demonstrate. Now, this is mutarabbi, with leg crossed. This is how you stand, while you sit, instead of standing. So you, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, you start reciting. When it comes to ruku, you do ruku the normal way while you're sitting. When it comes to sujood, now you do sujood. When you raise up, you can't sit here because it's plus for sitting. You're supposed to sit. You can't sit this way. No, it has to be the normal sitting of salah. So if someone that's educated met you praying while crossing your legs, he met you sitting down, he knows that now you are reciting. This is before ruku. Before you go to ruku, this is how you sit down. But after ruku, after sujood, between the sujood, then you sit down the normal sitting. I wish we are going to reach a place where Sheikh explain how to sit in prayer. There are 3 types of sitting in prayer. You don't just sit anyhow. Some people just sit any sitting, they sit anyhow, like this, throughout their salah. Some people do it this way throughout their salah. No, we're going to come to explain to that. It's in the book, so we don't rush. So we're going to get there. Do we understand mutarabbi'an? Mutarabbi'an is with his legs crossed, right? This is called tamatila, right? In Hausa. When someone asks you something, you can say, yeah, we can pray in shoes. Why? Because it's allowed. It's allowed where? Now you read hadith on that. When we were kids, we were arguing in school. Like, can you pray? Yeah, you can pray. Why? Because we are watching Saddam Hussein versus America at that time in the first Gulf War. Because Saddam Hussein, the soldiers, the army of Saddam Hussein, they prayed with their shoes, but that's no reason. Who cares about the army of Saddam Hussein? Now you are talking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now you have the reason from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not from the armies of Saddam Hussein, whether they pray or because you see people doing that. Now the Prophet the author said, وَكَانَ يَكِفُ فِيهَا أَحْيَانًا. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray sometimes barefooted. So praying barefooted with our shoes is sunnah. وَمُنْتَئِلًا أَحْيَانًا. And sometimes he wear his shoes. So it's also sunnah. So we have two types. If you want to pray barefooted, the way many people do, you take off your shoes and pray, it is sunnah, you can do that. If you want to pray in your shoes, it is also sunnah, you can do that. So it's two, both of them are sunnah. It depends on your intention. I just want to pray barefooted because the Prophet ﷺ used to pray barefooted. So you are getting the reward of doing that sunnah. This is what majority of people, everyone does. But now I want to pray with also my shoes because the Prophet ﷺ used to pray with his shoes. It's also sunnah. وَأَبَاهَ ذَلِكَ لِأُمَّتِهِ. He also made it permissible for his ummah to do that. That his ummah also can do that. He said, فَقَالَ, he said, إِذَا صَلَّى أَحَدُكُمْ. If one of you prays, فَلْيَلْبَسْنَ عَلَيْهِ. He shall wear his shoes and pray on it. أَوْ لِيَخْلَعْهُمَا. Or he shall remove it. بَيْنَ رِجْلَيْهِ. If you remove your shoes, where are you going to keep it? He said, بَيْنَ رِجْلَيْهِ. Between your legs. So if you go with your shoes in the masjid, before they don't have places for shoes. They don't have shoe rag in the masjid. Therefore, if you take off your shoes, you put it there. There was no tip stealing it, but it's just the sunnah that you put it there. I will tell you why. The hadith will tell you why. Why can't I put it here? Why can't I put it here? The Prophet said, in between your legs. Why? He said, وَلَا يُؤْذِي بِهِمَا غَيْرَهُ. He should not harm anyone with it. Look at it. He should not harm. If one of you wants to pray, he shall wear his shoes to pray. Or he can remove them and put them in between his leg, but he shall not harm anyone. Now some people will want to show you that they are really educated, they know what they're doing, the Prophet prayed with shoe. They will go to masjid and they say, we want to pray with our shoes, and they will argue with people. Now they are harming others. It is also sunnah to pray barefooted. If you know this masjid is very clean, they won't allow you to pray in their masjid, then pray barefooted. It is sunnah as well. If you go to another masjid where they allow that, in Sokoto we have a masjid where they allow that. If you want, come with your shoes. Then go there and pray. Then you're praying sunnah. When you go to another masjid that they don't allow that, don't do that. Also pray barefooted because it's also sunnah. It just depends on your intention. But remember the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا يُؤْذِي بِهِمَا أَحْدًا. Do not harm anyone with your shoes. When someone has a very clean masjid and clean carpet, and you just walk around and you want to pray on that, you are harming him. No one says that you have to pray in the masjid. If you want to show that this is sunnah, I want to practice it. If you want to pray in the night, in your own parlor, in your own sitting room, in your own house, you can pray with your shoes. At least you are practicing sunnah. But وَلَا يُؤْذِي بِهِمَا. Don't harm anyone. This is Islam. Islam is always telling you that whatever you're doing, be careful. Don't harm anyone. So don't let your shoes harm anyone. You know that they won't allow you to pray in the masjid with the shoes, don't come with it. That the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا يُؤْذِي بِهِمَا أَحَدًا وَأَكَّدَ عَلَيْهِمُ الصَّلَاةِ.
وأكد عليهم الصلاة فيهما أحيانا فقال خالف اليهود فإنهم لا يصلون في نعالهم ولا خفافهم.
طيب. He said, وَأَكَّدَ عَلَيْهِمُ الصَّلَاةَ فِيهَا أَحْيَانًا. The Prophet ﷺ emphasized that we have to pray in our shoes sometimes. He said, خَالِفُ الْيَهُودِ. He said, be different from Yahud. Be different from them. فَإِنَّهُمْ لَا يُصَلُّونَ فِي نِعَالِهِمْ. Yahud do not pray in their shoes. وَلَا خِفَافِهِمْ. They don't pray in their hoof, in their laser socks. So you do different from them. So you pray in your shoes. So we have to even once in our life to pray in our shoes. If we don't have any masjid that allow us to do that, in our house, when we went to pray in the night, when we went to pray congregational prayer with our family in our house, we say, okay, today we are going to pray with shoes because the Prophet ﷺ said, Khaliful Yahud, be different from Yahud. At least once pray with your shoes. He emphasized on that we have to do that. Now, another very important issue. This issue we are going to study is not limited to Salah. You know, when we studied, the Prophet ﷺ said, you are about to do like Persians and Romans. They are standing before their kings. I said, this is not only in Salah, even outside Salah, it's not allowed to come just to glorify someone, to stand before him to show his big person. It's not allowed. This hadith we are going to read now, this next paragraph, also has another issue, very important issue, not only relating to what we are in. So who can read it for us? Go ahead. You have good read.
نزعهما من قدميه وهو في الصلاة ثم استمر في صلاته كما قال أبو سعيد الخدري صلى بنا رسول الله
صلى الله عليه وسلم. One Rasulullah is mentioned, say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? No, all of them. I'm speaking to all of them. Yeah.
صلى بنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات يوم فلما كان في بعض صلاته خلع نعليه فوضعهما في يساره
في أو
عن يساره
أحسنت.
فلما رأى الناس ذلك خلوا نعالهم فلما قضى صلاته قال ما بالكم ألقيتم نعالكم قال رأيناك ألقيت نعليك فألقينا نعالنا فقال إن جبريل عليه السلام أتانا فأخبرني أن فيها قدرا أو قال أذى وفي رواية
خبثا
فألقيتهما فإذا جاء أحدكم إلى المسجد فلينظر في نعليه فإن رأى فيها قدرا أو قال أذى وفي رواية
خبثا
وفي رواية خبثا
خبثا فليمسحهما فيهما. Ahsant, you have nice reading, mashallah. He used to pray barefooted and sometimes he wear his shoes. Sometimes he mixed the two. As we said in Salatul Layl. We said in Salatul Layl, sometimes he prayed while sitting down, sometimes while standing up, sometimes he mixed the two. But sometimes also on praying with in his shoes, he sometimes prayed barefooted, sometimes he wearing his shoes, sometimes he mixed the two. This is where he mixed he mixed the two. He said, وَكَانَ رُبَّمَا نَزَعُهُمَا عَنْ قَدَمَيْهِ وَهُوَ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. Occasionally he used to remove them while in Salah. So he started praying with his shoes along the line while he's praying, then he removed them. ثُمَّ اسْتَمَرَ فِي صَلَاتِهِ. Then he continues his Salah. كما قال Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, as how that companion Abu Sayyid al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu reported to us. He said, صلى بنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات يوم. One day the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was leading us in prayer. فلما كان في بعض صلاته. When he was in part of the prayer, خلعنا عليه. He removed his shoe. فوضعهما عن يساره. And he put the shoes on his left side. You don't put them on your right side, only on left side. We're going to come to read hadith about that. فلما رأى الناس ذلك. When the companions, the people saw that he removed his shoes, خلعوا نعالهم. They also removed their shoes. فلما قضى صلاته قال. When he finished his prayer, he said, ما بالكم ألقيتم نعالكم. What happened? Why did you remove your shoes while you were praying? قالوا. They said, رأيناك ألقيتنا عليك فألقينا نعالنا. We saw you remove your shoes and we remove our shoes. This is complete imitation, complete copying of the Prophet ﷺ. Because we saw you did it, that is why we also did it. Then he said he had an excuse for doing it. He said, Inna Jibreel atani fa akhbarani anna fihi ma qadhara. Angel Jibreel came to me while I was praying and he told me that my shoes were dirty. Or he said adhan, or he said they were harmful. In another narration he said khubthan, they are filthy. meaning that they have najasa. Whether you said they are dirty or they are harmful or they are filthy, it all means that they have najasa. So they are not pure. I was just praying, I didn't know. Then Angel Jibril descended and told me this. فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَحَدُكُمْ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ When one of you comes to the masjid, فَلْيَنْظُرْ فِينَ عَلَيْهِ He shall first look at his shoes. فَإِنْ رَأَى فِيهِمَا كَذَرًا When he see debts in them, when they are dirty, أو قال أذن, or he said when they are harmful, وفي رواية أخرى in another narration خبثا, when they are filthy, or the same meaning when they have najasa, فَلْيَمْسَحُهُمَا He shall clean them first, فَلْيُسَلِّ فِيهِمَا Then he shall pray in them. So now the Prophet ﷺ was praying. Amid the prayer, he just removed his shoes and he put them on his left side. The companions, upon seeing that, they did the same. After Salah, he said, why did you do that? They said, because we saw you did it. That is why we emulated you and we did it. He said, Angel Jibril descended and told me that I heard they are filthy, they have najasa. That's why I removed them. Now, the issue I want to deduce from here is that when you are praying with something that has najasa, you are praying, after the first rak'ah, you realize that your calf is filthy, it has najasa. You don't stop and break salah, you just remove it and keep it and just continue. Do you understand? Because the Prophet ﷺ didn't start salah all over again. When you are praying, you realize that your babariga has najasa, you just remove it. When you are praying, a sister, you realize that your scarf, you have a big hijab that covers everything, but your scarf has najasa, you just remove it. Anything that is removable, you remember that it has najasa. You just remove it and continue your prayer. Do you understand that? This is what scholars deduce from this. So when you are praying with something that has najasa, after 2 rak'at, you remember, oh, this thing has najasa. If it is removable, if it is not, then you have to stop the prayer and start over again. Do we understand? Okay. For instance, Imam is wearing a long thawb, but his trouser has najasa. When he remembers, what shall he do? He has to start over again. When he starts pulling the trouser, people will get scared. so you just read the situation. But if it is a scarf, you can just remove it and people cannot notice that much. But whenever something is removable, you just remove it. When you are praying and you have your baby at the back, then you remember that, oh, he has najasa, he has defecated or something. You can just remove him and just continue your prayer. But when it is something that if you remove it, your aura will show or it will create chaos, then you have to start over again. Do we understand this? Okay, let me ask you a question if you understand this. Now you are praying super prayer. After you said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, oh my God, you remember that your trouser has najasa. What do? You have to pray again. You have to pray again. Why? Any other opinion? Your trouser or something new. Just forget about trouser. Anything new. After we said Assalamu alaikum, we said if you are praying, when you finish 1 rak'ah, then you remember that, oh, my calf has najasa, you just remove it. Now you didn't remember until you said Assalamu alaikum. What do? No, that's not nisyan. You don't have to repeat whole thing. Because when you did 1 rak'ah, we said that rak'ah is valid because you didn't know. So when this 2 rak'ah also is valid because you didn't know. This is just 2 rak'ah, you just finished. The same thing we said when someone is praying, you remember, is praying in the wrong direction. We said when he finishes the first rak'ah and he is reminded, he will just turn to face the right direction. His first rak'ah was valid. So if you finish the salah also, it is valid. If first rak'ah is valid, your salah ceased to be valid once you remember. You didn't remember till when you finish. So your salah is valid. So it happens to many people. Yes. Yeah, this is different. Very good question. This is different. Very good question. Now we are talking about your cloth, something you can remove. It's different from your body. You cannot remove part of your body. If you pray and you are junub, while praying in the first rak'ah, you remember that, oh, I need to take a bath of janaba, of haid. I'm not pure. I don't have evolution. The salah ceases. just you will appoint someone to continue. Okay, let me ask you a question. If you are imam, and after saying Assalamu alaikum, then you realize that you didn't do wudu. Just to refresh, they said, one of my cousins from mom's side, so they said Fulani, so my mom is Fulani, but my dad is not, so one of my cousins, he said they stopped, they were on a journey, they had a commercial car, and it's time for prayer. Then they asked this Fulani to lead the prayer, and his recitation was so nice. Then after the Salah, they said, oh, you have a nice voice. He said, so now as an imam, you finish praying, Assalamu alaikum, Salatul Subh, then you remember that, oh, you didn't do wudu, or you have to take a ghusl al-janaba, you are on, what do you do after saying Assalamu alaikum? Yes. You repeat the prayer. Yeah, you don't need to even tell them. Their prayer is valid, it's accepted. Umar radiallahu anhu once prayed with people when he was Amir al-Mu'minin. He prayed with people in Medina, and he didn't know he had janaba till in the noon when he went to his farm. Then he saw sperm on his garment. He said, oh, since when I was given the responsibility of people, I have never been myself. Well, because people are always coming to me asking questions, and because I'm a leader, I didn't have my own time to know that I have janaba. Then he took the bath and he prayed. He didn't tell people to repeat. So at the point, take it this way. If he prays one rak'ah and he realizes that his salah is invalid, or he didn't have wudu, he will just appoint someone to continue. Are they going to repeat that rak'ah? No, they will just continue, right? So whatever, take it as a principle, as a qaida. Whatever they said, if you remember, from the point you remember, your salah is valid to that point, then if you finish prayer and you remember, it's valid. Because the point you remembered, all the previous ones are valid, and you remembered after taslim. So from taslim to takbiratul ihram is valid. So there is no need of repeating. Do you understand this? Yes.
For the ruling, like, you know that if it's a trouser, like you need to remove it. So you need to stop the salah and get something.
Yeah, if it is trouser, you need to remove it if you are in public, for instance, not to create chaos. But if you are praying alone, you have a long thobe, you can remove it. Go ahead.
So if you're going to remove it, then renew your salah, like do the salah again. So if you remember, like it's on the trouser when you have finished the prayer, then do you need to renew the prayer?
Do you need to?
To renew the prayer. Since like you remember, like at the end of the prayer, like if it's trouser, like inside the prayer, you need to renew it. You need to renew, cut the salah and then renew it. But like now you remember that you saw it.
After salah, your salah is valid. If you remember amid salah, at that point you have to remove it. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, when he was told by Angel Jibril, he just removed the shoe. So not necessarily Angel Jibril cannot come and speak to you, but you are praying and with your thobe, then your wife told you that it is not pure, it is filthy. Your son urinated on it. Now it's another revelation, but it's not like Angel Jibril, right? Don't claim you're a prophet as well. Then you just remove it. Once something is removable, you remove it. Once it is not, then you stop the prayer. But if it is you, not your thobe, not your cloth, the whole prayer is invalid. Yeah, yes, Sheikh. Okay, 5 minutes. When the Prophet ﷺ removed his shoes when he's praying, he will put it on his left side. In Islam, right hand side is respected. So you don't put something filthy. That is why you only eat, you say salam, you do musafa, you shake people with right hand, while the left hand is for filthy things. So you don't put your shoes on the left hand. Whatever is in najasa is najasa. Now if you are sitting down and you have a dustbin, you have to put it somewhere. Don't put dustbin on your right hand. Put it on your left hand side. Anything that is like filthy, anything that's dirty will go to left hand side. There is hadith authentic in Sunan Abi Dawud from Aisha narrating about that. So وَكَانَ إِذَا نَزَعَهُمَا, the Prophet ﷺ, when he removed his shoes, وَضَعَهُمَا عَنْ يَسَارِهِ, he will put it on his left side. وَكَانَ يَقُولُ, he used to say, إِذَا صَلَّى أَحَدُكُمْ, if one of you prays, فَلَا يَضَعَنَ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَمِينِهِ, he shall not place his shoes on his right hand side. وَلَا أَنْ يَسَارِهِ, and he should not put it on his left hand side. Why? فَتَكُونُ عَنْ يَمِينِ غَيْرِهِ. Then it will be right hand side of someone. Now if you are praying in a row, you said, let me place it here. It is your left, but it is the right of someone. إِلَّا أَلَّا يَكُونَ أَنْ يَسَارِهِ أَحَدٍ. Except if there is no anyone there. If you are the last on a row, you can put it there. But if there is someone there, you can't put it on his right side. وَلْيَضَعَهُمَا بَيْنَ رِجْلَيْهِ. He shall put it between his leg. But we don't need this now because we have shurag everywhere in the masjid. If you go, either you remove them from there or you put them. There is a specific place for them. Remain 4.5 minutes, right? So we can take 3 minutes. Okay. As-salatu al-mimbar. Who can read it for us? Yes. ذو ثلاث درجات.
قام عليه وكبر الناس ورآه وهو على المنبر ثم ركع وهو عليه رفع فنزل قهقرا
ما شاء الله.
ثم سجد في أصل المنبر ثم عاد فصنع فيها كما في الركعة الأولى حتى فرغ من آخر صلاته ثم أقبل على الناس فقال
يا أيها الناس
إني صنعت هذا
لتأتموا بي ولتعلموا صلاتي
ولتعلموا صلاتي.
طيب. Good, mashallah. As-salatu al-mimbar. This is very on mimbar. We know pulpit, right? Mimbar. If we go to Masjid al-Jumu'ah, Jumu'at mosques where imams stand and pray. Can we pray there? Yes, we can pray there. Wa sallallahu alaihi wasallam maratan al-mimbar. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once prayed on his pulpit, on his mimbar. Wa fi riwayatin, another narration, annahu dhu thalathi darajat. It has 3 steps. So it is sunnah that you have a masjid with 3 steps. Alhamdulillah, from the blessings of teaching this book, there are 3 masajid, I know, big masajid in Sokoto that change the steps of their mimbar. Sometimes you see a mimbar, a pulpit has many steps. If you give to a carpenter to do you a mimbar, he will just do as many steps as he wish. No, it is not. It shall be only 3. And in one of the masajid, Jazahumullahu Khayn, is big masjid Jumu'ah, where a congregation of people attend in thousands. When I was teaching this book, and their mimbar has more than 3. And I turned around and said, so please, I'm appealing to the committee of this masjid to change this because it's not on sunnah. And alhamdulillah, because they have pure heart, they accepted and they change. Almost it happens to 3 masajid in Sokoto. So if you know any masjid or you're building any masjid and you ask a carpenter to build, to do mimbar for you, and he did it with many steps, then tell him that no, it's only 3 steps. You might say that, but today in Medina it has many steps, yeah. But then in Medina today, who cares? It is in Medina during the lifetime of Prophet ﷺ. That very thing, that masjid, that very thing is a mistake. It was not done by the contemporary rulers, but throughout the history, many people ruled Mecca, part of which are not good. Something that is there cannot be changed now because there is always dispute on ownership. Even now, you know how Masjid Mecca and Medina look. You know how it looks, right? If Saudi Arabian government is now to say that we want to change the structure, we want another architecture to draw it differently, they will not be allowed. That structure, the way Masjid Mecca looks, it has to look. Turkish government will never allow it to be changed because that structure is from Turkish government when they were ruling during Ottoman Empire. They are the one who made Masjid al-Madinah to look that way. You can modernize it, you can expand, but it has to look that way. Otherwise, they will go to UNICEF, them and UNICEF will go to court, and they will take you to court, and it will be, because it's something historical. When something historical, it has to do with UNICEF, then it shall not be changed, and these are international laws and things like that. So you might argue to say that the mimbar in the masjid prophet is more than that. No, during his time, it is 3 steps. But now it's more than 3 steps because it happens during the Ottoman Empire, like 300, 400 years ago, so you can change it. So, ala kulli hal, the Prophet ﷺ prayed on the mimbar and it has 3 steps. فَقَامَ فَكَبَّرَ وَكَبَّرَ النَّاسِ. He stood on the mimbar, he said Allahu Akbar, and people said takbir behind him. وَهُوَ عَلَى الْمِمْبَرِ, while he was on the mimbar. ثُمَّ رَكَعَ, then he did ruku, وَهُوَ عَلَيْهَا, he was on the mimbar. ثُمَّ نَزَلَ الْقَهْقَرَى, then he descended backward. After ruku, when he said ruku, Allahu Akbar, Sami Allahu liman hamida, when he went to go for sujood, he descended back on the steps, he went back. Hatta sajada fi asl al-mimbar, until he did sujood at the first step on the ground. He went on the ground and he did sujood there. Fasana fiha thumma ada. Then in the second rak'ah after sujood, he went back to the mimbar. Fasana fiha kama sana'a fi rak'at al-ula. He did the way he did in the first rak'ah. Hatta fariga min akhir salatihi. When he finished with his salah, thumma aqbala ala nas. Then he faced the people. Faqala, he said, Ya ayyuhan nas, O you people, inni sanatu hadha li ta'tammu bi. I did this so that you can emulate me. Now there are many people in the masjid. I want you to see how I pray. That's why I climb the mimbar. وَلِتَعَلَّمُوا salati, so that you will learn how I pray. That's why here we are learning. And they reported to us even this incident. You know, the mimbar itself. So now the rule in here is that we can pray on mimbar. And that's all now. Not all of us are privileged to have mimbar to pray. Only Imam of Jumu'ah and other people that may be close to the masjid. And now, but about mimbar, before the Prophet ﷺ used to learn on a tree to give khutbah. But later, a woman of Medina, the hadith is in Bukhari, she saw that a lot of people now, many people coming to the masjid, some of them at the back can't see the Prophet ﷺ. Then she suggested that, my son is a carpenter. What do you think, Ya Rasulullah, if I build a mimbar for you? He said, go ahead. Now everyone is thinking how he can contribute his quota to the development of deen. Think how differently you can also contribute your quota. A woman, no one knows her name, but she just went to the Prophet. He said, I saw you are learning on a tree, and there are many people now. Those in the back can't see you when you are giving khutbah. My son is a carpenter. I can suggest that we build a mimbar for you. He said, go ahead. And she went ahead, and now mimbar is everywhere in the world because of the blessing of that woman. So also, man or woman, think on how differently you can contribute to the religion. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. We will meet in the next class. Assalamu alaikum. It is, you pass a rain.
Yes.
Yeah. I will tell you very, very expensive knowledge with me. Why is it expensive? Because this is what I had from Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymin. So it's privilege. It's my privilege that I met him in life. He's the greatest scholar I met. I didn't meet Albani, I didn't meet Bin Baz, but I met Uthaymin on several occasions. And I memorized a couple of points he said about this. He said, وَالشَّكُّ بَعْدَ الْفِئِلِ لَا يُؤَثِّرُ كَذَا إِذَا الشُّكُوكُ تُكْثِرُ. Now this is a principle. Once you finish your prayer, after finishing, then you think, maybe, I'm not sure. Once you finish Ramadan on Eid day, then you think in Ramadan, this is what happened. You don't look at it. You don't bother about it. It's something I think, you're not sure. Like if you said, I'm sure, Umar radiallahu anhu, when he was sure that he has janaba, he repeated salah. But now he's saying after salah, I think, I'm not sure. Maybe I saw something, maybe urine came from me. I saw urine, but I'm not sure. Is it? Then if you're not sure, it is before. Like Umar radiallahu anhu, he was sure that the sperm was before salah because he didn't sleep after salah. So it was a wet dream. He dreamt in the night before, and then he prayed without performing ghusl. But now you are not sure. A principle is saying that whatever happens in the closest time. So if you see urine, you will consider it came out after prayer. Now, what is habit for you? Someone is always passing urine, someone is passing fat, someone is passing something najasa coming out. This is called salasul bawl or salasul rih. There is no hadith whatsoever about it. There is no Quran about it. But there is analogy. They analogize it to mustahada. A woman who bloods come out from her continuously. The Prophet ﷺ said she shall not consider the blood, she shall pray. So if urine is coming from someone continuously, or is passing fat continuously, we will say that don't perform ablution, until it is time for prayer. But if you perform ablution, just pray. Don't mind what is coming out from you. Scholars said why? Said qiyasan alal mustahada. We have to make analogy with the mustahada. This is something, a topic you find in almost all the bigger books of fiqh. They call it salasul bawl, salasul rih. But know that there is no hadith that talk about salasul bawl. There is no hadith that talk about salasul rih, but it is an analogy to the woman who passes blood all the time. She went to the Prophet, asked him, how do I pray? I stop praying because every minute blood is coming from me. How can I pray? I know if you're in a state of menstruation, I can't pray. So now there's something. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, this is not menstruation. This is a special, this is something different. So just perform ablution and pray, regardless of whether the blood is coming or not. Because this is not your haidha, this is not your menstruation. So there's something when someone says, urine is coming out from me all the time, I can't control it. We say just perform your ablution and pray. Don't worry, even if it is coming from you. Qiyasan or analogy to that issue.